We at Real Taekwondo Fighting all love Taekwondo, but we think Taekwondo fights are in need of change. Our goal is to separate ourselves from modern Taekwondo by reintroducing the old school Taekwondo spirit into our fights. But we also want to stay true to what competitive Taekwondo is at its core. Here's how the RTF rules and scoring system differ from Olympic Taekwondo and why this will result in more interesting Taekwondo fights for both the spectators and the fighters. First, the core stays the same. That means each fighter wears a hogu and headgear, shin, arm, fist, foot, mouth and groin protectors. Kicks are allowed to the body and head, while punches are only allowed to the body. However, we get rid of all electronics as well as the point-sparing scoring system. The reason is that we want to score the effectiveness of strikes over the frequency. Each fighter should strive to hit the opponent as hard as possible instead of as often as possible. Think of boxing. One fighter might hit more jabs than the other, but if the other fighter hits a couple very powerful punches, the spectators instinctively know that the fighter that hit the stronger punches won the round. We want the same for Taekwondo. This is why we will introduce the 10-point must system from boxing and MMA to our RTF fights. The winner of each round will be awarded 10 points, while the loser receives 9 or less points. This will lead to fighters stopping to use many of the highly ineffective modern Taekwondo techniques and return to powerful strikes and strategies that are meant to damage the opponent because nothing else will be scored. Again, only techniques with the intention of damaging the opponent will be relevant for the scoring process. It will also stop the current situation of video replays based on cards granted to the coaches. We want fluid fights with as little stops as possible. We think this basic formula is necessary for any combat sport and will lead to way more exciting fights. This however means that penalty points as in Olympic Taekwondo would most likely decide many fights, so we changed that to how boxing deals with fouls too. Fighters are usually warned for minor fouls, but repeated fouls or serious infringements may result in point deduction by the referee, which will be reflected in the judge's score. Apart from the usual fouls, like leaving the ring, low blows, excessive clinching and so on, we are also going back to forbidding pushing and holding. Clinches won't be broken by the referee right away. Try to fight your way out by punching and kicking, but don't put two arms on the opponent at the same time or you will receive a warning. Same goes for intentionally blocking kicks with your legs. RTF fights will be 5 rounds. The first 3 rounds will be 2 minutes, while the last 2 rounds will be 1 minute each. Breaks in between rounds will be 45 seconds. The idea is that we want more opportunities for fighters to score than in the normal 3 rounds, while we also know that fighters will experience a lot of fatigue in the last 2 rounds. After testing, we found the pace of round 4 and 5 to be too slow, so we changed them to fast-paced 1-minute rounds that allow fighters to go for 2 last sprints that often decide whether you win or lose the fight. Fight endings. Finish. A fight can end by knockout, technical knockout, or stoppage by the referee, in which case no score is required. Decision. If a fight goes the full distance, the judges decide the result. The points from all rounds are added together to determine the final score for each judge, which then leads to the decision result. For fighters and coaches, the full in-detail list of rules is on our website rtf-taekwondo.com. While we highly respect Olympic Taekwondo, we believe these changes are necessary to allow Taekwondo to survive in the combat sports scene. We hope to capture the spirit of old school Taekwondo fights and bring it up to speed with modern combat sports events, while not losing the traditional Taekwondo values and feeling. We keep the iconic dobok, hogu and headgear as well as basic rules, and we won't fight in an MMA cage or boxing ring, but we humbly accept that these sports are simply more interesting for spectators to watch because they are more fight oriented, and we believe the Taekwondo community deserves an equivalent fighting experience. As the UFC is to MMA, we, RTF, strive to be for Taekwondo. It will be a gigantic task, but I believe together we can make it happen. Welcome to Real Taekwondo Fighting.